Yeah, okay, 9 o'clock. We'll get things on the road here. Call this meeting to order. First off, well, there's four of us here. We have two vacancies that have been filled, or actually Larry Chu. He couldn't be here today because he had a previous doctor appointment scheduled, and he said it's pretty hard to get it rescheduled. And so we needed to know 2 days ago, so that seems like a reason to me. Was it Nevin signed, is that right? Here, Nevin?
I think.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Kevin, the member from the soil commission, is that Nevin?
Nevin, signed.
Nevin, okay. Yeah.
Is he related to the farmer science?
He is.
Is
Morning. Thank you.
Procedure. We have a form of 5. So we have Molly, Ricky, myself, Roger, Zebel. And Chris, so I got her already. And here, Wakefield, and Randy Rudy. Proceed on. First thing, order of business is the approval of the agenda. And I think we're gonna need to work on that maybe a little bit.
I agree.
Huh?
I agree.
Okay. I don't think, there's really not too much to talk about on A. I don't think, we are able to go ahead and meet as a county board. And so we are grateful for that. We can review the draft bylaws. We already, the membership vacancies, it's already been addressed. Glad to hear that. The Small Falls Bridge, that's not applicable this time. Open to Harrington Manor State Park feasibility study project update. We could,
I can give you that.
do that.
Kevin, do you have something from the commissioners?
whenever it's appropriate. Yep.
Do you want to put that on the agenda?
What's that now?
Kevin has something from the commissioners,
Oh,
correspondence.
sure. Yeah. How do you want to say that?
Do you want to do it, after the public comment?
Good.
Okay, like, commissioners correspondence?
Yeah. And the Youghiogheny County Active and Alternative Transportation Master Plan, congressional funding request,
Yeah, I can give a little update. It's pretty much the same. That one will probably sit for a year or two before I see any momentum on that, because things just take a while.
G, the Youghiogheny County,
And then,
H.
H, yeah.
H, discussion of roles and responsibility for implementation of the management plan, pages 58 through 61.
And I have this printed out as well.
You said you, what?
I printed those
Yeah.
off. They're in the stack
Well,
there.
The other thing is, the booklet that we need to hand out. It's everybody, have you got it?
I mean, I have to print it off myself. That one. Oh, I didn't.
If you need one. And then I have another meeting at 10, so I will have to go.
Right, that was the other thing. We need to, close this out by 10 o'clock.
Thank you.
That's you keep in mind. And when I get to discuss the next date. Okay, at this time, you all like to make any comments?
I don't have any comments at the beginning. I came primarily, you'd asked about maybe some of the comments about the right-of-way requirement for the county. And if you're going to do an update on the bridge, it was part of the hearing. I can make it now if you'd like.
Okay, that would be great.
I think Kevin's here, so it's kind of convenient because in the fall, Kevin had made a comment from Wally that there was not a requirement for a right of way for the new bridge and road for the Fall Falls. I subsequently talked to Paul Pedito. Paul indicated that there was some miscommunication, that it hadn't been determined at that time whether a right of way would be required. And they were checking with the Attorney General's office. That was in September. And I repeatedly monthly asked for confirmation on what that requirement was. The closest thing that we got was during the court hearing when the Attorney General's office said that the county would require a new right of way for the road. And, in court, under oath, that's a pretty strong statement. I'm in close communications with Brooke Learman's office, the comptroller. If there is a right of way required, the Board of Public Works would need to approve that right of way, my understanding. And Brooke Learman has a coordinator of Board of Public Works activities, and I'm in weekly contact with them and have updated them with materials that can provide publicly. And so far, since September, it's not been put on the agenda. And I have lots of people looking at it, but I think that was a notable change from the Attorney General's office to make that statement. There are other updates. There are also there was discussion in meetings with the county that from state highways that this would be considered a de minimis project, which means it wouldn't require a full NEPA review, environmental review, and it could be passed, and all the federal funds that the county has could be used to build this project in the offset alignment. Also, in recent Annie Bristow had pursued a PIA, Public Information Act, and got confirmation that this would not be considered a de minimis because of the offset nature and because of being in a non-impacted area. So it actually has to meet the requirements of what's called Federal Highway Administration Section 4F. And that requirement is county wants to use federal funds, they need to choose a site that has the least impacts ecologically and recreation, which is not the current alignment. And then there's also new historical impacts that the original plan in 2018 did not have. That was a 500-foot section of road. And now there's a 1,200-foot section of road that impacts historic resources that are actually eligible for designation under the National Historic Preservation Act. And those would be destroyed by this new alignment. So Maryland Historical Trust is now having to review that, and that is also part of the 4F process. So those are things that have come up just in the last 2 weeks that have been different than the dialogue that's been given prior to that. So there are other things coming to bear on this bridge project that I don't think anybody had considered, or at least there was guidance. Maybe Kevin could talk to this. There was guidance from the state highways. What's unusual is state highways actually is given the privilege, or they're given the authority to administer the federal program. So they're administering the requirements of 4F, while advising and coaching the county in how to basically address those requirements. So I brought it to the attention of the federal government that it appears to be some sort of a conflict between their authority to administer that and their coaching of the process. So lot yet to be decided on this, but we are still waiting to hear from the judge. Is really most likely it is would be some type of remand, which would be to DNR, not to the county, and basically that they didn't go through the full process, full consideration. And then the final thing, then they can get off. I can get off this, but is that the 60% drawings, and maybe Kevin or Paul isn't here, but could give an update. The statement was for the exception process that those Irreplaceable Natural Areas Act policies were not fully in place. So they considered them, but they didn't have to actually abide by them. Well, for the 60% review, they are fully in place, and they have to go through full consideration, which is separate from the wild yak exception process. So again, Ann Bristow's request was, well, how are these being considered? And nothing was forthcoming how they actually considered them. So that would be, it was never raised, it was never put in the environmental impact assessment by the county's contractor. It was in very few of the conversations that have been made public by their agreement. But now that they're in place, all of the actions of a new bridge and road are clearly contrary to what the allowable uses are for it today. So particularly if the judge comes back with a remand, that if there's a remand, that would need to be considered for the exception process. But it absolutely has to be considered for the 60% review process. By all indications, they're telling us that the 60% review is still, it's 90 days, that it was still in process. 90 days seems like a long time, Kevin. I could imagine for you, but it seems like everybody's waiting for Judge Fines before they. Sorry.
Actually, that's a lot of information.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, certainly. So thank you for the opportunity. As you all know, Don met with the commissioners last week and provided an update on the board. And after the meeting, the commissioners wanted to have a little more clarity to the comments. You want? So I'll go ahead and read this for the record. And so this is from the Board of County Commissioners, during public meeting on Tuesday, April 16, 2024, the Board of County Commissioners heard from Don Seabold, Chair of the Youghiogheny River Advisory Board. Mr. Seabold provided a history that led to the establishment of the Youghiogheny River Advisory Board, and he encouraged the Board of Commissioners to fill the 2 vacancies on their advisory board. The Board of County Commissioners have not disbanded the Youghiogheny River Advisory Board. In 1997, the county commissioners established the Youghiogheny River Advisory Board, and this board respects that decision. However, we believe the Youghiogheny River Advisory Board is a state advisory board and not an advisory board to county government. Board of County Commissioners on Tuesday, April 16th, filled the 2 vacant seats on the advisory board. Mr. Nevin Sines, representing Soil Conservation District, and Mr. Larry Shue, a property owner, as the at-large members. The Youghiogheny River Advisory Board may continue to meet as needed. However, there will be no county representatives on the board and no direct county support for administrative functions. As always, the Board of County Commissioners will receive citizens' comments during the public meetings and are willing to meet with the advisory board on specific items. This is signed by the Board of County Commissioners, Chairman Paul Edwards, Commissioner Ryan Savage, and Commissioner Larry Tischer.
There is no representative from the county.
Correct.
So that includes Sierra?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
So basically our role is just no different than if we would just show up to public hearing.
It's advisory role. Again, the commissioners, as they've stated, believe that it's a state function, but you certainly have the ability to advise the commissioners on any subject that you want. And we'll be happy to host you here for your meetings.
Well, I personally need to think about it. I appreciate you coming and
Sure. Yeah.
being forthwith. Anybody have any comments, concerns?
So will then Sierra be replaced with another,
What? You're saying we have no support from the county, is that correct?
Correct. So you would elect a secretary to take your minutes? Publish your minutes?
I'd like to comment on that, as one who participated in the writing of the law. That is not the legislative intent. That is not what the management plan is saying. That is not what a number of former secretaries of the department have also said. But more important, you're kicking them in the ass of what you're doing. Forgive my language, but they're providing a service to the county. The Youghiogheny, as you know, is the only wild and scenic river in the state. And for you not to recognize them and to come up with this letter, I think is outrageous. And as a citizen, I don't understand why the county has to be so against citizen participation in something that is extremely important for the purpose of civic engagement, but also for the purpose of tourism, which is the main driver of the county. I'm very disappointed, very disappointed.
so I do have one question. I guess when you fill out the permit for the bridge, I mean, I remember in an email, there was a box like consulted, advisor, environmental advisory, something to that effect. And I don't know if it was just like used this meeting as a checkbox for that permitting process. And I don't know, but I did when, after the last meeting, we were told to report to the Wild and Scenic Review Board, and I asked for that contact information.
Yeah.
I actually called every single person on that list, and their secretaries had no clue what I was talking about. They didn't know it existed. And there certainly weren't any minutes from any meeting. So it's like, that's not even a board that has talked about this project either. So it's like a little bit confusing.
I have two comments. The first is continued perspective from the county that this board doesn't have anything to contribute to the county's operations, government. The wild section of the Youghiogheny is managed by the state. And I agree with you that this board should advise the state in management of that. And work with the county on coordination of those efforts, like private property in that. But the vast majority of the Youghiogheny is actually managed by the county. The scenic portion of the yacht outside of the 21 miles in the wild section, the state owns very little land in that. Most of it's privately owned. There are lots of issues with that land that the legislation and the management plan assigned to the county as responsibility for, which is why, Sarah, your position sits on this board, and why the soils folks sit on this board. And you're abdicating that responsibility by not linking a relationship between this group, who really has taken upon themselves to understand the management plan. But that is where there is a valid role and partnership with county government and this board. So it's a very complex document. It's a very complex thing. And I think a lot of folks don't understand it. And I think that partnership is important to that understanding. So I hope that one phrase about it being only a state board would be reconsidered. The other question is, I guess, that if you stand with what your position is, that creates a vacancy on the board. And I would offer myself as a volunteer to be on board and to take, I would be happy to serve responsibilities for being the secretary in that capacity, although I would like to be a voting member.
And how does that work if the county doesn't want anything to do with this board? Are we to elect them the vacancy? Tom?
Beg your pardon?
Like, how do we fill that vacancy?
So the county still has the authority to appoint members to the board. And whether the county, without a county representative, whether that creates another vacancy officially on the board, we'll have to review that piece, but I'm not ready to answer that today.
I see here where, we should have one member representing your county. Who would that be?
As of today, there is nobody from county government representing Garrett County. The commissioners have decided that they did not want a member of county government. Why? They just didn't feel it was appropriate. And they had many discussions on that and they decided.
So do they plan on following the management plan then? I mean, that's part of the management plan. That person,
And so that section of the management plan, we are not. This is certainly an advisory board and continue to operate as you have. And if there's issues that you feel need to be addressed to the commissioners, you can bring them to the commissioners and they'll certainly listen to them. They also need to be brought, in our opinion, to the state advisory board. And to your point, the state hasn't met since probably 90.
Well, that's what I'm wondering, who
Right.
reviewed the bridge project.
Right.
If we suggested something, you didn't listen to that, and then the state board hasn't even met about it.
which commissioners on the advisory, the state review?
It's one of, I think it would be Paul Edwards as the chairman would be on that board.
So we report to them and basically,
I think it goes back to DNR to convene that board as it is.
maybe you could answer me this, John. Whose board is the forestry board? The forestry board, whose board is that?
State DNR,
DNR?
but we have a county commissioner on,
Yeah,
who participates fully.
Yes.
yes. So, I mean, it just seems that. It seems disingenuous to me. I mean, the county would not want to participate.
But control the members that serve on the board.
Well, I would like some clarity on like when my seat is
Vacate.
vacated, because technically if I'm not a member today, before we start the meeting, we don't have quorum. I just want to be clear on that.
As of today's meeting.
Okay.
Would not be a member.
So before or after it, I guess. Okay, thank you.
Is this information you just provided?
Okay, I just wanted to be
That would be my.
clear on that. Okay.
I have a question. Yeah, I think in order for this board to be a state, the legislation doesn't support that. I've been working with some former DNR administrators in Annapolis to craft an amendment to the law so that association, that direct advising capacity like the working board could exist. Would the county be supportive of that? Since this is your position, would the county be willing to work with us to at least consider
So
that?
you're talking a state board similar to the PRB or
The forestry board,
forestry board? I'm not gonna speak for the commissioners, but I think that'd be something certainly they would consider. So if you liken it to the PRB, we sit on the board, we have no authority on the PRB. They all report to the state. PRB reports to the state. So, if the state changes the board or something like that, I believe that the commission would.
I appreciate that. I definitely will come back to you because, you know, having community represented in the management of that river corridor is extremely important. It has been from day, well, maybe not day one, but day two, when George Edwards and John Novak got involved. So, okay.
I have one other
Sure,
thing.
sure.
to say. Back in '96, when the management plan was accepted, and we had a meeting. And at that very time, John Wilson stated, we were no longer a state board. We were no longer a state board. We are now a county board.
And I would not disagree with that statement, because the legislation says the county may appoint a board, and in 1997, the county did create a board. Right? And have just filled the vacancies on this board. Right? So, but the county is not going to participate in the board because we believe it should be a state advisory board, the county.
But the state says we're not the state.
But again, the interpretation of the ordinance, you know, as that state board still exists. I've seen nothing that says that state board doesn't exist. Right, so they should be the one that has the advice that you report to on a regular basis. Right, on issues concerning the golf board.
So you're saying report to the state scenic review board,
Your recommendations, your.
the Wild Scenic Review Board. None of these members, Josh Kurtz, Kevin Haddix, Serena McLean, Rebecca Flora, and the member of Garrett County Commissioners, even none of this.
It's in law, it's been there. I know Paul Padilla knows it exists, so. I can't speak for that.
Go ahead.
Kevin, what I don't understand, why are you all so against this? I mean, you've got private property concerns in the scenic area as well as the wild. Trails are an important part of the economic development plan for the county. The county was involved surreptitiously with the other trail going through the wild section of the river and the scenic part. And yet you're fighting this thing. I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't, again, I'm not gonna speak directly for the commissioners, but in their conversations, they're not against it. They feel that it's a state function, it should be, all this should be handled at the state level. That's their opinion.
So who would we contact?
I would suggest probably contact Paul Padilla, start there. That'd be my, you know, I don't want to
He
throw.
was at our meeting,
Yeah.
and he
so-
said, you know, we're getting conflicting
Yeah.
information from everybody.
Right, and that's why the commissioners, after the meeting, they said they wanted to have this clarity. And this is what they put together and asked me to present, so.
So a quick question for you. So if the commissioners don't want to be part of this or take the recommendations of this committee, can they relinquish the control of this committee and let them appoint their own members? Like a year.
You know,
It's one or the other.
that's a question I don't answer. That we started looking at that, I don't know the answer to that, so
That's a good question.
I can do some research on that, I don't know.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, you pick the board, but we're not the board. That's how it's tells me. Very disheartening.
I think, if I may also say, I think Kevin's the messenger. I think the board should address the commissioners. They're the ones that made this decision. And I think the question is, that might be something that the next commission's meeting to ask them their position.
But it wasn't clear at the meeting last week, or, right, so that was.
Let's,
Yeah, no, I appreciate it.
Comments are not personal toward you.
hey, I have a job to do, I get it, right? I'm not, I'm the messenger, but, I'm trying to relate based on their discussions.
Randy, I just emailed you a copy of the letter, just so you have it. Okay.
No further questions from me? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Hmm. Who can I pass along my notes to for writing minutes?
Beg your pardon?
Who can I pass along my notes to write some minutes?
I don't know that.
Okay, well, I will send them to the whole board.
Asking for me.
I'll send them to the whole group and you guys can go from there.
Sure.
Oh, thank you.
At this point, this is not, like, everything's been. Well, at this point, this is a meeting of citizens.
Right.
Yeah.
The authority of this board has been relinquished. I think, can we just
Stop the live stream.
stop the live stream, and talk openly amongst ourselves and come up with a plan?
Do you guys want to,
We cut off Randy.
yeah, I think I could probably just do the Facebook
don't have to
live
record it.
stream. Well, I guess, do you guys want to, somebody want to make a motion to close the meeting, I suppose?
I'd like to make a motion to close the meeting.
Also, and that.
All right.